Hi, this is Tony Gerard at Summit Property Management. Today's discussion is going to be understanding your role as a landlord in managing or transitioning utilities to your tenant. Let's start by saying I'm going to break this into two pieces. There are municipal utilities for, let's say, your water or even your gas, electric, whatever, that are run locally by co-ops or municipal portions of the government, etc. And there's another piece of this, which is if you're a Denver or broader Colorado resident, is Xcel Energy. Today what we're going to focus on is how to work with Xcel Energy in transitioning from you as from a resident of a house to becoming a landlord. Let's start with, you have a house and you are residing in that house. Every month you get an Xcel Energy bill for gas and electric. It's in your name with your social security number attached to it. At some point you decide, I'm going to turn this property into a rental. You move out, you move to an apartment, buy another house, etc. And now your property is ready to rent. The first thing you must do is you must take the utilities out of your name and you must put them in what we call a landlord agreement, or in the jargon of Xcel Energy, it's an LLA. You'll be dealing with a segment of Xcel Energy called the landlord agreement team. What do they specialize in? Dealing with tenants and landlords. That is their role. What is a landlord agreement? Well, a landlord agreement provides you as a landlord with a certain level of protection that you wouldn't normally get if you were just transitioning from your name into the tenant's. One of the key issues that you must recognize that in the eyes of Xcel Energy, they're going to ask the first question: who is the client? Are you the client, or is the tenant living in the house the client? And that is a real black and white line in the eyes of Xcel Energy. So even though you own the property, you are not Xcel Energy's client. And therefore, as a result, they will not speak to you about what's going on with the bill that the tenant is responsible for. So just remember that. So you set up a landlord agreement document with Xcel Energy. That document provides you with this kind of protection. It's called an automatic turn on, automatic turn off. So when a tenant moves in and you submit the turn on form, it goes out of the landlord agreement that was in your name and goes over into the tenant. When you submit the automatic turn off form, it goes back automatically back into that agreement. If you have one single house, it doesn't sound like a very big issue. But if you have a building that's 2, 3, 4, 10 units, then it becomes fairly significant to make sure that these things are being turned on, turned off. Another component of this is that you are, at the time of the turn on, you require that you are notified, you are a third-party notification. So if the tenant isn't paying, you are on third-party notice. So you know when the tenant isn't paying. And if you have a very good lease agreement, in it is a clause that says not only does the tenant pay the rent, they must also keep the utilities current. This is your way of staying on top of this. You can still call in Xcel Energy and say, how much does so-and-so owe? They will not tell you, but you have the third-party notice, so you will know how much this is. Now, let's get into specifics. You rent a property to a tenant. And there is a form, an automatic turn-on form that Xcel Energy uses. And so you have the tenant make it out, you and the tenant sign and date it. This is what we call the first mover advantage. He who moves first gets the date of when the utilities transfer out of your landlord agreement's name and into the tenant's name. So if the tenant calls in first and says, my utilities don't begin until March 15th, and you send in the automatic turn-on form, and it says, oh wait, the utilities don't start until March 1st. Unfortunately, the tenant moved first, and Xcel Energy will go with the tenant calling in, and the utilities will go in their name March 15th. Doesn't matter if you provide a lease, doesn't matter if you provide a form. That is the process they use. If there's a disagreement, then it is between you and the tenant, and that's how Excel Energy handles that. Flip side, much easier, however, is on the back end, and that's when you provide the automatic turn off. So the tenant gives you notice, you mutually sign what is the last date of the tenant's occupancy, and they say it's March 31st. You've both signed it. The tenant calls in and ends service as of March 25th. In the eyes of Excel Energy, it's just the opposite. They have a signed form for automatic turn off. It goes out of the program on the 31st. It goes into your landlord agreement as of the 31st. So it protects you in that respect. Another element to consider as you go through this is that you have a tenant for a year. Halfway through the year, the gas bill comes in the middle of winter, and it's $800. And the tenant goes, can't pay this. So what they decide to do is they're going to put it into somebody else's name. Maybe their best friend, maybe their girlfriend, maybe the boyfriend, maybe in your name. I say that because it's happened to me. By basis of the landlord agreement, in your automatic turn-on, turn-off agreements, the tenant cannot do that. You have a lease, thus protecting you with the landlord agreement, that you submit. The tenant is not allowed to change who, what, where, when, how, and why, unless the both of you mutually agree to it. That's why a landlord agreement is very important to you. If you have any other questions, for more information, please go to www.echo-summit.com. Thank you.